I forgot to do the intro thing.
You
Do it.
you can just freestyle like Chris.
Oh, yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Here comes the 49ers with Grant Cohn and Coach Noah Johnston. They talk about all kind of stuff. They're edgy, but they don't push the envelope too far. That's our show. Welcome. Exactly. Today, DeMeco Ryans episode. We're going to talk about everything we know and we think we know, we think we've learned about him, because he is basically the most important new guy on the team this year. And he's not a new guy, but he's been promoted. And the question is he ready? Is he good? So before we get into the good and the not so good of DeMeco Ryans, let's talk about how he may change his defense. He alluded to the fact that he's going to change it in certain ways in his press conference, which is his first press conference as defensive coordinator. When you listen to that, where do you think this defense is going to go in this season?
I could see him adding more onto what Salah was doing a little bit last year, which is change what he does with the secondary, playing more man, playing more press man, and being more aggressive. Maybe being more aggressive with his blitzes. The thing about it, it's when you have coaches, right? They typically, if a guy's a position coach, he typically tends to protect that position in his scheme. Like if you're a defensive line coach, he gets promoted to defensive coordinator, he's going to end up protecting the defensive line in the scheme. He's going to do things to keep them exposed. Conversely, if you're a secondary player, a secondary coach, you're going to see probably less blitzes at a secondary background, because he's going to try to protect his guys. That's what really happens. With linebackers, you might see them be more aggressive, and the linebackers do more things. But you're coming from a guy with a linebacker background to a linebacker background, so
True.
I don't expect too much changes there. But it does seem to be, judging by what some of the players said in the interviews, and also I think you can take a little stock of how they've addressed the secondary in the draft and free agency, right? Like we're out there saying, hey, they need to take a big corner. They need to take a big corner. Well, they kind of just took, small guys that can move.
Yeah, and it seemed like when kind of in like the Jason Verrett mold, right? Now, no one is as good as him, but he had so much success playing a specific way. It was interesting. Verrett talked, and what he singled out in particular was the press technique of Deommodore Lenoir, and made me think, like, I don't really remember Richard Sherman, Emmanuel Mosley, and Keller Witherspoon really pressing much for Robert Saleh. They'd line up in a press technique sometimes, but they would be like mirroring the receiver. So if they're going to be pressing more, that's a change. And what does that indicate in terms of bigger philosophical changes?
Usually it usually is with some sort of blitzing package, but it also can be. But it also says you want to take away the immediate throws, and you're willing to put your guys, expose your DB a little bit out there, and not give them the cushion like Sherman.
Which I like, because Robert Saleh was much more of keep it in front of you, don't give up explosive plays, and it annoys me when you just give up 8-yard catches all day. It's like, would you please take that away? And I like when you deny take away the slant, take away the quick throws, make the guy throw a low percentage throw down the field with pressure in his face. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because my first year as a DC, I came from the guy that was before me was a big zone guy.
Yeah,
I did when I came in, my guys were in your face, played 90% man. Because I am in agreement. I don't like giving up easy access throws.
Right.
I'd rather guy hold on to the ball and have
annoying.
have to check
it's annoying. Yeah, it's too easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could definitely see them. That's where they're going. It's interesting that you brought that up, though. Just on the side note, with what Verrett said, because they asked him about Lenoir, right? And then they asked him about Ambry Thomas, and he was like, Ambry's all right.
Yeah, it was clear, right? He was much more enthusiastic about Lenoir.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was kind of reading into that. Is that maybe is Ambry showing that he's not that good, or maybe Ambry is good and probably, and he wants to he wants slowly roll, Rook.
Yeah, maybe he just likes Lenore better. Maybe Lenore kisses his butt and Embry doesn't. Who knows? There could be a million things at play. But when we scouted them, I felt like Embry Thomas is more of a mirror player than a press player. And Lenore, we've seen him get physical at the line of scrimmage, so maybe that's what Verrett's talking about.
Yeah, the problem with Lenore, as if you guys watch the video, is if he gets beat off, if he doesn't get that good press, yeah.
And he's going to be so much smaller than a lot of the wide receivers he's trying to press in the NFL.
Yeah. Now, getting back to, I mean, if he had to play, getting back to what he could do is you could play like a mixed coverage. You could play cover 2 on one side and let Lenore press, and then you give him help. You have a cover 2 safety over the top with Tar or Jimmy Ward. Both those guys are versatile enough to do that. So those are kind of things you can do if he has to play.
So Ryan said he's going to attack more. That's always what coaches say. They never be like, we're going to be more passive.
Yeah.
We're going to hang back and let the offense dictate to us. So they always say we're going to attack more. But the thing with more press coverage, it could indicate that they're going to continue manufacturing pass rushes as opposed to just depending on the front four.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say that there's going to be huge schematic change. I think the one thing that people have been ignoring here is who's the guy that's the head coach, and we've seen who makes the final call on things. It's Kyle. Like they've asked Kyle. They've asked Saleh last year about who's going to start at corner, and he's like, I don't know. Ask Kyle. Ask Kyle.
Yeah, and you ask Kyle sometimes in training camp, like, are you going to have a say on who's the starting cornerback? And he's like, yeah, I'm the head coach. It's not like he's delegating defense entirely. Like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. You make the call. No.
Yeah. And I think if I remember right, when asking about his switch to the wide 9, Ali even brought up like, well, Kyle and I looked at such forth. So he's not going to change anything without the approval of Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle even said from the get go when he brought Sal on, he wanted someone to run that 4-3 Seattle scheme. So he knows what he wants, and he knows what he wants in his defense. So if Kyle is big on 4-man pressure, and DeMeco, I don't foresee DeMeco all of a sudden playing zero coverage all the time.
True. Brian says, funny people say no rook quarterback has won a Super Bowl, but it is different here for Lance. Actually, Super Bowl roster around him. Yeah. Well,
maybe. It's still a lot. Like I think if it could possibly be. I think you need a couple things to happen. I think I think you're going to need a jump from you need Kinlaw to make a jump, which I think he will. Honestly, you need Ayuk to make the jump that we think that he's going to. I think he will if he's healthy. But you report he was out the last practice, right?
Yeah.
And then I think you're going to need probably maybe 2 of these rookies to step up and be good players, whether it's Embry Thomas or Lance steps up or Lance comes out, or it's a tough division and it's it's a tough in the NFC is tough, so it'll be hard for them to be Super Bowl. I think they'll compete in games.
Yeah,
I'm not going to roll up and put
the Super Bowl expectation should be more next year.
Yeah.
It should be really next year. They should be building up to that. All right, more DeMeco. Where do you think he could be an upgrade over Robert Saleh?
I think kind of a little bit what we just talked about is the willingness to maybe use more press coverage, take away easy access throws, and not cushion. Just play with a cushion and give up all that quick stuff. Maybe I know Saleh has had problems with mobile quarterbacks. DeMeco has a different take on it, and his take might be better. Although it seems like Saleh had a grasp on it toward the end of last year.
Did a good job against Kyler.
Yeah. So I think that's where you might see something. Another thing is DeMeco's background, right? He was a player. He was a professional player. He played in the NFL. So there is a certain weight that comes with his words, right? He knows exactly what those players are feeling because he's been in that exact position. So that's a special, unique quality that he has that only few coaches have that, right? Like Kyle didn't play. Kyle's played receiver on a high level in the collegiate game, right? But he's never been a pro player.
And as close as Robert Saleh was to Fred Warner, the best player on the defense, the leader of the defense, Ryans developed him. Ryans' relationship could be even closer. It could really work. Yeah. I mean, he developed Fred Warner and
Greenlaw, right? So, I'm sure those guys are close, and I'm sure Fred's gonna heap tons of praise on DeMeco.
I think there's a lot of Saleh that he can recreate, the enthusiasm, the all that stuff. He can.
Yeah, he's almost like a Saleh clone in somebody. Like, what does Saleh bring to the table? He's leadership, right? Leadership, intelligence. Like, those are the two qualities when you scout DeMeco as a player. Like, those are the two first things that come up: leadership and intelligence, right? So that stuff translates over to coaching, and so I think he's a lot of what Saleh was. Now, everyone's their own individual, but I see a lot of the same qualities in DeMeco Ryans. So I think it should be a relatively easy transition, at least from coaching type, right?
Yeah, I mean, the player should play hard for him, and the schematic changes that he could put in place could work. I mean, instead of his Saleh was very specific in how he blitzed. He would like to blitz K1, the nickelback. Maybe we'll see a more wide array of blitzes from DeMeco Ryans. Should be good.
Yeah, you might be, but I mean, the thing about it, it's like with blitzes and threatening the blitz. Everything has to, in defense has to work in concert, right? If you're not a blitzing team, and then all of a sudden you just start showing blitzes and all that stuff, like the offense is gonna feel threatened by it. So like everything has to work in concert, right? If you're not a heavily blitzed team, you should probably blitz from depth because they're not going to expect it, right? Everyone's, if you're just going to hang back, then blitz from depth. But maybe he is going to, I think Saleh started to do that more last year with bringing guys to the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. Yeah.
True. Christian Miranda, happy birthday. Thanks for watching. Let's move on. More DeMeco. Flip side of this. This might be a more obvious question, but how do you think he'll be a downgrade from Robert Saleh, at least initially?
I mean, for obviously it's experience, right? Like, so even when you look at Saleh's career, his first couple of years, I know he didn't have the talent, right? But the first couple of years, you're like, what's this guy doing? And honestly, I do think there is a certain learning curve that comes with coaching, but I do think he didn't have the talent that first year. I think it's going to be a lot easier for DeMeco to make this transition. He has a good coaching staff, like the rest of his guys. Those are all good assistants that he has. And I think a lot of times we undervalue the assistant coaches. We just talk about the coordinators and we talk about the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. But when the assistant coaches are so key to coaching, and he's got a good set of them there, so we can rely on those guys. But I think just experience. There's going to be things out there that he hadn't thought of before, and then how quick can he adjust and learn?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like my experience with rookie defensive coordinators is they're usually more focused on establishing a scheme or a system. They're not as good with the weekly game plans, and then they're even worse with the mid-game adjustments, like halftime adjustments or even like mid-quarter adjustments. That's not what they do well. That just kind of comes with experience. So I wouldn't expect him to be able to out game plan many offensive coordinators next year.
Yeah, and it's like with that stuff, and it's interesting, right? Because I don't know that they're necessarily installing a new scheme, right? Because that definitely plays a part in it. Because I think a lot of times we get hung up on adjustments, and yeah, it's important to make adjustments and do that. But like the back work or the leg work of the adjustments are like you got to have the tools in your toolbox. Like if you don't have that tool in your toolbox, like no coaches aren't out there like drawing plays in the dirt.
No.
It rarely happens. You got to have that whatever you want to do already
practiced in the thing. Absolutely right.
Which means you have to predict like kind of where your weaknesses are, or like one day you might need to use this. So
yes.
And if you're a new DC and you're just kind of like installing your scheme, you might have not have gotten to that point in that. Will have a leg up because I don't think this is a completely new scheme, so he will have some of those tools in his toolbox. But then, how quick can he adjust and see that, hey, I need to use like this set. I need to use a screwdriver instead of a hammer here.
Yeah. Whatever. Split safety coverage is getting me killed. I got to do this. Or any basic adjustments that he needs to do in the heat of battle. Can he do it? Because it felt like Saleh didn't make the first couple of years, and by the end, he made. I mean, he did. I mean, he famously shut down Sean McVay's bootleg game halfway through in 2019. He could do it.
And the other question is, will Kyle let him do it if he needs to do it?
That's true. Does he have to earn that autonomy? Right.
Yeah. I mean, like we're sitting at home on our couches and we're like, yeah, this Brian Allen thing isn't working, right? Like, what it shouldn't have taken was it take a half to make that decision, like,
right. Right. Kyle Hunter Bassler says, off topic question, but Kyle said last year he was hoping Jordan Reed would be the Andre Iguodala of the team. That would be, what would that be? And is that why he keeps bringing in tight ends? I don't remember that. I don't remember that quote. The Andre Iguodala of the team, like the guy off the bench, the sixth man.
I mean, it was a good idea. I have said this for a while, is I think there's a lot of value in having two very good tight ends. I think you can do a lot of things. And Kyle said this before. He likes playing around with personnel. He likes putting personnel on the field and making defense match up with personnel, and then doing the opposite of what I think he's going to do and put you in a vulnerable position. The tight ends let you do that, and they also work to your advantage on the pay scale, right? Because they're cheaper. So, like,
true.
George Kittle, who we believe is one of the top tight ends in the league, conversely, is not as expensive as one of the top receivers in the league. So, I mean, I would rather personally have, like, if I could fit Travis Kelce and George Kittle on the same roster than, like, let's say Julio Jones and Devontae Adams, right? Because they're both going to be, I can get high level production from those guys, and they're going to be cheaper.
Yeah, that all checks out, but just bothers me that Ross Dwelley isn't getting the respect he deserves. So I'm trying to call up something real quick. Hold on. Let me get the picture of Ross Dwelley. Okay, here we go. Hold on. It's gonna change. It's gonna blow your mind.
Did he put on weight? Didn't he put on some
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to show you right here. So hold on. Here we go. I'm gonna put it in on. Here we go. You'll see. I put it as a background. Yeah, put it as a background. All right. I'm gonna show you what Ross Dwelley is now. Hold on.
Are you gonna put up a picture of Shaq or something?
No, I swear to God, I'm gonna show it. It's gonna be him next to Kittle. Kittle looks ridiculous. I mean, not ridiculous, but he just. Okay, here we go. So hold on. I mean, I think it's pretty big.
Yeah,
it's bigger than before.
Is it? Yeah. Hey, he's maybe. Did he go to Kittle with Kittle in Nashville?
No, he didn't. He's been doing his own thing. Maybe he found something that works. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's bigger.
One more time.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Good job, Ross.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but Kittle took all that money he got and he built like a facility on his like.
Oh wow.
Or whatever, and to like work out.
So now he's the 49ers strength and conditioning coach. That's big of him because the other guys don't get that.
Wouldn't you rather them work out in Nashville than work out in Santa Clara where
that's true.
Hurt, just standing?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. Good call. I just hope they give Ross his chance because I think he's ready for it.
I agree with you. I think like you gotta figure out like can he throw at him? He catches. So like give him a chance.
Yeah, and what is his? One more thing before we move on. What is his salary situation? I think he signed through this year only. So get something from him. He could be gone next year. He could be the next Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, I'll give you guys on the Jordan Reed. I'll give you guys a free little story. So
Oh, nice.
Jordan Reed is from Connecticut.
Right.
He played in a team for New London, Connecticut, for a coach who's like one of the greatest Connecticut high school coaches, like 6-time state champion. Like he's gone to 3 different places, wins everywhere he goes. Doesn't matter. He's notorious for like taking players from one place to another, which you're not supposed to do. And Jordan Reed was one of them. He took from one
high school to another.
From one high school to another.
Jeez. Like a free agent back in the day. Interesting. Derek Odell says, what can we get for Hasty and a third next year for a cornerback? I don't think Hasty's worth a pick yet.
No, running backs aren't going to – you're not going to get high value for running backs.
Yeah.
Hasty's value is to the 49ers. He's cheap, and it looks like they can get something out of him, like on the field. So, no, they're not going to get.
Is he saying we could get for Hasty and a third? I still think Hasty's value right now is like a late seventh, basically.
Yeah, you're not going to get high value for a running back. I mean, like in theory, like let's just say if the Cowboys, who are from the top running backs in the league, if the Cowboys wanted to trade Zeke, like what are they going to get for Zeke?
Yeah, probably like a third round pick. Like not even. Yeah. Good question though. Thanks for the donation. All right. Which player might benefit most from DeMeco Ryans' promotion, in your opinion?
Well, we talked about before about like where Ryan's background is. He's a linebacker coach, so I think Warner's production is still going to see it. I think he's going to get very favorable things to his play style. I think if he's going to do what we're talking about doing is putting those press corners. I think maybe the defensive line, because you're making the quarterback hold on to the ball. A guy like Bosa might, if he's on the field, end up with double-digit sacks at one of those years, 15, 16, 19 sack year.
Yeah, I mean, you could say a linebacker, but Fred Warner's already at the peak of his game. Maybe Dre Greenlaw. But if they are going to bring more pressure, then maybe DeMeco Ryans has different players he likes to blitz. Solid like blitzing K'Wan Williams. Maybe DeMeco likes blitzing Jimmy Ward or Jaquaski Tart or Tavarius Moore or Jason Verrett. Who knows? There could be some other secret weapon this season, the way that K'Wan was last season. I don't know who it'll be. Could be Dre Greenlaw.
Could be
Dre Greenlaw. Greenlaw is very fast, hits very hard. He would be a good blitzer. He's not great in coverage, so why not blitz him?
Maybe.
Makes sense. Rosanna Baker says, have you seen the reports of the tight end university? Supposed to be before training camp. Thoughts?
Tight end university? Is this like Kittle's
Kittle thing?
Is this a Kittle thing, Rosanna?
I don't know, Rosanna. If it's the Kittle thing, then yeah, we have heard of it. But if it's not, then I haven't heard of it.
Maybe Grant can get that press pass and attend this.
Yeah. Let me see what I can do on that one, Rosanna. I'll get back to you. All right, last topic. Who will be DeMeco Ryans' Gus Bradley? And what we mean by that is every coach needs like a coach he could call midweek when he's out of ideas. Man, this is a tough team. What do you suggest? What did you do? What would you do in this situation? Kyle can always call his dad. In journalism, I can always call my dad. It's a nice safety net. Saleh was on his own in this organization, and he could call Gus Bradley. That was his mentor. Now, Gus Bradley's got his own team to worry about, and sometimes I wonder how much he and Saleh could really discuss, but that was his guy. Who will be DeMeco Ryans' guy?
Did you mean by Kyle calling his dad, like, hey, Dad? Like,
yeah, come over here for a second. Yeah.
It's interesting, right? The easy answer is Robert Saleh, right?
Right.
That's the easy answer, and I'm sure he will call on Robert Saleh, but I think DeMeco Ryans last year in Houston, his defense coordinator was Wade Phillips, who's currently not in the league. Wade is known as a player's coach.
Yeah.
I think he would be a great call for DeMeco. He's a guy that Wade Phillips said success everywhere he goes. Like that last year with the Rams, that's an obscurity on his record. I mean, remember he got to that Rams and they basically got to Super Bowl because of that defense. Goff's career was revitalized, but remember they had a really good defense that year too. So I think Wade Phillips.
It's a good call. I think he also has connections to Romeo Crennel, That's another guy who could call.
He could.
It's nice to have these people in the Rolodex. There is no such thing as a Rolodex anymore, but it used to be a thing called a Rolodex. I'm watching Seinfeld, and all his references are painfully outdated, man. Anyway, yeah, I think he'll have a lot of people. He's played for a lot of good coaches. He's got Salah. He could have like 4 to 5 different guys on rotation. You know, if Salah doesn't answer his call that week, he could call Wade, Romeo, Little Romeo, Big Romeo. That's Big Romeo though. That's not Little Romeo.
And
Romeo.
Yeah, I mean, and if you looked, if Romeo's from the Belichick school, and putting guys out, man on man, maybe that's where DeMeco's getting it from.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and the Niners are having a nice record, maybe give Bill a call up and try to get Stephon.
That's another area where DeMeco could actually have a leg up on Salah. Salah's network was fairly limited to Gus Bradley and those Seattle coaches. DeMeco's played for so many coaches. I think his network might be bigger. That's good.
It is good. And one of the things I think that you also might see him do is, we haven't really seen it with the Niners, is having matching up players, meaning putting Verrett on a specific guy, putting Ward on a specific guy. We haven't seen Salah do it. I think a lot of that had to do with Sherman and the scheme that they were in, but you might see some of that coming up next year.
That's a great point. As we leave, to go out on this, the defense is going to change because Salah's gone, but it's also going to change because Sherman's gone, and they know it, and he's not coming back most likely, and they can spend an entire offseason planning for a defense that doesn't have to accommodate him, and that's a good thing.
And I think they know. I think now they're running as if D Ford is never going to come back. I think, in my opinion, so that's why they got Ebicom, and they're having, obviously, hopefully Bosa will come back and be the player he is. But I think that was a big part too. Is like, they know D Ford's not going to really get on the field, so they were able to plan for it.
True.
Because you need another edge guy. Even Bosa's on the field, he's not going to do it alone.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna hit the YMCA a little later and see if I can put on some mass. See what I can do.
Eat some squirrels.
Eat some squirrels.
What's the craziest thing you've ever eaten?
Okay. I'll tell you what the craziest thing I've ever eaten. In college, I had a girlfriend when I was 19 who was Filipino, and so she introduced me to her brother, and of course they hazed the shit, the crap out of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the guy was 26, and he was like, "All right, in this family we eat these duck eggs or whatever. There's these particular eggs, and you crack them open. There's a little duck fetus in it." And he's like, "All right, go ahead, eat it." So I did it to impress him. It's terrible. We broke up 2 months later. So it was not worth it. It was terrible. Yeah. Balut. Yep. Boo. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was man, I don't know if I like this girl enough to do this right now. And I didn't. So I shouldn't have done it, but I did it that day. I was very impressionable. I just rushed a fraternity, and I was really in the mode of not saying no at that point. So I should have said no. But I guess it didn't hurt. I mean, a lot of people in the comment section are excited about it. I liked it. If you like it, I liked it. If you didn't like it, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I wasn't in a fraternity, but my roommates were in college, and I remember one night I heard them, and they had some freshmen in the shower, and and all I heard was, "Dogs don't know it's not bacon," and then I looked in there, and they were funneling all this stuff bacon bits, and there's a goldfish,
rough, yeah. Still traumatized from that one. When I was 5, I have a brother who's 12 years older, so he was in high school. I never trusted that guy. We get along great now, but he took me to the fridge and told me to close my mouth and open my eyes, and he shot whipped cream in my mouth, and I was traumatized for years. I would never touch whipped cream. And he was just trying to be a nice guy, but you know what? I wasn't ready for that. I cried. I just was looking for excuses to tell on that dude when I was 5, and that was a good one. What did you thinking? Anyway, that's my story.
Big brother.
That's Anyway, I don't tell on him as much anymore. I've gotten over that phase mostly. So, Coach, thank you. This was a good show. I like talking about DeMeco. We'll learn more about him in the next season, I guess.
Yeah,
DeMeco, good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck. Hopefully, Kyle will let you do what you want to do, and
Yeah, I would suggest using Jimmy Ward exactly how he says, because Jimmy Ward's my favorite player. All right,
and hopefully all your players are healthy too. Like, because you could end up with like nobody on the field. Like, oh, DeMeco's terrible. Like, yeah, when everyone's gonna be terrible when like Brian Allen's on the field. You know.
That's right. All right, so I'm gonna be on Twitch in an hour and a half. Otherwise, I got to post articles and stuff on SI. The grind continues. Coach, it's always a pleasure. See you same time, same place next week.
Let's do it.
All right, man. See you, everyone.